There are a number of ways to save a design inside the Floriani software, and in this video we're going to explore those options and talk a little bit about why you would choose to use a certain save method. And so let's get into it. Up here in the File menu, if you click on it, you'll see that you have the option to save, save as, and save to so. These are your primary options for saving a design. Now the save to so is a little bit more advanced. The regular save and save as are the save options that are mostly used. I'm going to click off of this for a second, and I'm going to show you that there are a couple icons as well. For instance, right here you have a save icon. This is the exact same thing as going to File and Save. And then you'll notice that you have an icon right here, and kind of more towards the middle, and it says Save to So. Now that's a more advanced way of saving. And then you can also come down here to the floating toolbar, and you'll notice that when nothing is selected, you have the option for selecting the Save to So icon right there. So there's a few icons just at your fingertips to help you save a design. So which one do you choose and why? So when you're working with the design, and let's say that you've never saved it before. So I'm going to select everything in this design here, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to open up a new document, and I'm going to paste it in here. So you'll know that just by seeing this little star right here next to the design 6, that means that this design has never been saved before, or I've made changes since the last time I saved it. That's what this little star represents. If you don't have a star there, that means that you've saved your work and you haven't added anything else to it. Okay, just wanted to point that out really quick because that's a good way to know if you need to save the design again or not. So I haven't saved it. This is design 6. If I come up now and I go to File and Save, because it's never been saved before, it's going to bring up this dialog box. Okay, and it actually says Save As. It's the same thing as going to File, Save As. And the reason is because I haven't given it a name and I haven't specified a location to save it. So with this, I'm just going to save it right into here as Design 6. I'm not going to go over the little settings here yet. I'm going to hit Save. Now you'll notice that the star goes away and it says a .waf. That means that it is now saved, and it's saved in the WAF format, and that is the outline format for the software. Now, if I go and I make any kind of changes to this design, like maybe I just change a color from this green to this green, notice that I have a little star again. That means that I've made a change. The software is letting me know, hey, you need to save this design again before you exit. So if I go to File and Save this time, notice that that dialog box will not appear. It'll just save the design. So when I hit Save, it just saved it. The star went away because I have now saved the design, the latest changes in the design. So every time I go to File Save now, because I've already specified a location, it's not going to bring up that dialog box again. But let's say that I'm ready to now stitch this design out onto a piece of fabric. I need to get this into the format for my machine. Okay, so this is when the File Save As comes in. If I go to File and Save As, it's going to bring that dialog box up again. So this now will allow me to even give it a different name if I want. Maybe I want to name this Design 6B just because. And now I can choose the format. So let's take a look at what file types that we have inside of the Floriani software. The way that it's organized is you have the WAF file up at the top, and that is the format you always want to save a design in first. Before you save it into a machine format or any other format, save it as a WAF file, because that is the file you would actually work on if you needed to add any changes, make changes, add something to the design, whatever you want to do, you need to have this WAF file. Then you save it again using a format for your machine. So if you use a Brother, you use the PES format. So you can see that these are alphabetical. So it starts with the Baby Lock Brother and it comes down, has different versions. Typically, if I'm creating a design, I use PES version 6 because it doesn't matter what it works with all the older machines. Just letting you know that's what I use. If I come down, and you'll see that I have Elna, Janome Viking, all these different formats, and they come all the way down here to the Viking VP3. All of these files in here are stitch file formats. Okay, so these are ones that work with a machine. After you get past this Viking, you'll see that it starts with A again, and it says AI files. That is a vector artwork file. Okay, so that is a file that will save vector art that you create. Vector art is what's used in cutters. So that's why you have AI. You'll see that you have SVG. That's a very popular cutter format. And then you have FCM. That's what brother machines use. And then you'll see Windows bitmaps. Okay, bitmaps are images. So the last three, this BMP, JPEG, and PNG, those are actual image formats. Okay, so the most popular being JPEG and PNG. So I use JPEG quite a bit. There is some advantages of PNG. I rarely use BMP. So I can save this design in these different formats. Now, one thing that you must keep in mind with this is that if your design only has stitches in it, you can't save it into an artwork format, the AI, SVG, or FCM. You must have artwork in the design to save into those formats, and it's only going to save artwork. So if you have embroidery and artwork, it's only going to save the artwork. So something to keep in mind with the image, it's just going to make a representation of what the 3D view is here, and then you have the formats for machine formats. So that's kind of how it works. So let's just take a look at this a little bit. So I'm going to choose this Brother PES version 6, and I have that same name. I hit save. Now it's saved this design in a format that I can use it on a Brother machine. Let's go back up to File, Save As again, and you'll notice that it's only showing me the WAF files because that's the file of type selected here. But if I come down here and I choose like a Brother format, you'll notice that I have two of them here. Okay, just so you know, when you go to File, Save As, it's not the same as a file open. It's only going to show you what you have selected in the files of type. Okay, so when I click on this and I come down, and let's say that I want to do an image of the design. So if I choose JPEG, and I have this listed as the 6, I'm going to add a B at the end just because to keep it similar to the other one. And I'm going to hit save. Now what it's going to do is bring up this little dialog here called Export Image. You'll see that it says 3.94 inches by 3.34 inches. And I'm going to crop it. And I just recommend keeping that selected. I'm going to press OK. So now I'm going to go to File, Open here. And I'm going to find that 6B. You can see right here it says JPEG file. You'll notice that it saved an image of that file, even with the gray background. And it did it with a gray background because I'm using a JPEG, but it did crop it all the way along the edges here. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to come up to File, and I'm going to go to Save As, and this time I'm going to choose the PNG format. Now, the unique thing about a PNG format is it will eliminate the background if you want. So I'm going to hit save. And so it's only going to save the image itself and no data, none of this gray. So it's kind of transparent in the background. So if you put it on top of something else inside of a photo editing program or whatever, it will only show the elements in the design. It will not show a background, a white background or gray background, nothing. So if I hit OK here and I go up to this File, Open, you'll notice that this PNG version here, it shows as like black behind it. It didn't save the black color. It's just showing that that's the transparent area. So it would show the background of whatever I put this over the top of. That may or may not make sense to some of you, but those of you who work with images and understand how transparency works, this is a very handy feature. If you're wanting to just save a design and put it on top of something, like an image of it, you definitely want to work with a PNG. For most people, a JPEG will be fine. So just wanted to show that to you. So those are the basic ways of saving a design. And again, that's using file save and file save as. And inside of the file save and save as, you can save it into a format for a machine, for vector artwork, or for an image. So it's not very difficult to do. And just to show you, I kind of showed you the image and I showed you a design. Right now what I'll do is I'll bring in a new design page, and I'm going to just bring in a piece of some custom shapes here. And I'm going to just work with the easy art here, that this is what comes inside of the software. And I'm just going to bring in, let's just find this camera right here. In this camera, you'll see that this is vector artwork. So you can see it says artwork here. That means there's no stitches, anything like that. It's just vector artwork. And this is what I would work with if I'm working with a cutter machine. I would need it in this format. So let's say I want to save this into a format, an artwork format. First thing I do is save it as WAF. So this is always the first thing I would do, is save it as a WAF file. Then I'd come back in and go to File Save As. And I need to choose one of these formats, AI, SVG, or FCM. Personally, I work with the SVG most, so I'm going to choose SVG format, and I'm going to hit Save. And it says Camera SVG already exists. You can see it right here. Do you want to replace it? I'm just going to choose Yes. So now if I go to Open, you'll notice that I have this SVG file that I can bring into the software. And it's the same thing as what you see here. It'll just bring it in full view. And that's how you work with artwork. Now, because this is just artwork, if I go to File, Save As, and I try to save it into a format for a machine, any format, doesn't matter which one, and hit Save, you'll get this error: the design has no stitches, cannot save an empty design. Okay, so I don't have any stitches in here, so it can't save that. Now let's say that I do bring in just, I'm not going to change this text, but if I do just bring in some text that is embroidery, as you can see here, and I go to File, and I go to Save As, and I choose like the brother format again. I'll just name this Camera 2 and hit Save. You'll notice that it did save it, and it saved it because I have embroidery in here. But let's see how it saved it. So if I go to Open and I go to Camera 2, and this is that PES version, notice that the only thing it saved was the text. It didn't save the artwork, and that's because the brother PES format, that specific one, it does not save any artwork in it. So that's why you only see the text here, is because it couldn't save the camera because that was artwork. So I hope that that makes sense. In the next video, what we're going to talk about is the save to sew feature. It's a little bit more advanced of a save method, so I wanted to do that on a video all by itself.